This is Rob Tebbutt for Boxing Social. It's the morning after the night before here in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. Delighted as always to be joined by Dave Coldwell. How are you, Dave? Been a long night.
That's been a long night. A very, very good night though. I'm content and I'm happy today. I'm over the moon with what happened last night. Everything about it was special, and it was a privilege to be here.
Now, with a voice like that, it sounds like you've been out on the lash, but I assume you haven't because we're here in Saudi Arabia. Let's start with your man, Hopey Price, scored a stoppage win on last night's Ruiz-Joshua 2 undercard. What did you make of his performance?
I thought he was brilliant. I thought the whole week he's handled everything fantastically. The public workout that we did, he was relaxed, he was just himself. Then the press conference with about 300 cameras facing his way, I thought he spoke really well. And then he handled the fight night very well. We had gloves on, we had gloves off, thought it was going to go on, then it got canned, we had to stand down. There was a thought where we think, oh, are we going to get on? And then two quick fights in a row, he got his slot and he went out there and he handled his business, Coming out to the crowd, the actual facilities, the stadium was unbelievable, and knowing what occasion you're there for and what the spectacle is puts a lot of pressure on a 19-year-old boy, and I thought he handled it really, really well. A lot of kids, it's a 4-rounder, it's a big slot on a massive event, they'd have got out there like tense and trying to blow their opponent away. He didn't. He stuck to the plan. What we're trying to build with Ope, what I want to do with him is I want to build a fighter, a long-distance, 12-round championship class fighter. And if he goes out there and blasting people out in a round or two, it's not doing him any good. It was a 4-rounder. We looked for 4 rounds. The referee stopped it. Could the kid have carried on? Yeah, he could have. But he was getting hammered. He was getting hit with everything. He was getting hurt. So the ref stopped it. And am I bothered that Opie's got a stoppage on his record? No. Because is Opie bothered? No. Because we're not looking at stoppages at this point. It's not about that. I think he'll go on to be a fighter that if he stops you, he's going to stop you in after 6 rounds, break you down, take you to bits, take you apart, and then maybe get the stoppages later on. That's the kind of fighter I think he's going to be, and that's why I'm building him as a long-distance fighter, and I'm not interested in stopping a guy in 3 rounds. Some people have said, great performance, which it was, but ref stopped it. Yeah, I'll agree with that. He stopped it a little bit early.
You mentioned kind of the life of a float fighter, gloves on, gloves off, the indecision and stuff like that. I mean, how beneficial is that for a young fighter just at the start of his career to kind of go through that? Because it's a very, very awkward situation for a fighter to go through, particularly at the start of their career.
Yeah, it's very awkward. You've got emotions and adrenaline going up, down, spikes. You have to, as a coach, you have to be able to keep them sharp, warm, because obviously we warm fighters up backstage. You have to keep them sharp, but not take them too much out of them, because you might have your gloves on for 2-3 hours. But what helped me know that Hopey would understand that, and what helped Hopey go through that was when we went to Freddie Roach's gym, a wild card in the summer. And one of the days we were supposed to be sparring at 9:30 in the morning, gloves on, ready to go. He didn't end up sparring until 1-2 o'clock in the afternoon, and he handled that so well, just so calm. Wasn't arsey about it, wasn't irritated. So I knew that he would handle this last night. I knew he'd handled that, and he did. When we thought it was going to be on after the Al-Qatari fight, he was warming up, and then it went past the designated time. He said, stand down, he's not going to be on at least for another hour and 10 minutes. Took his gloves off, let him relax a little bit, and then with 20 minutes to go before a possibility of his time, put the gloves back on, and we went back to work warming up, and he ended up getting on.
What's the plan for him moving forward? As I understand it, this is going to be his last outing before Christmas. When can we expect to see him back in the ring in the new year?
February. He'll be back out in February, moving up to 6-rounders. I wanted him on a 6-rounder from the start, but it was just to get a couple of quick fights in. Obviously, the being a float last night had to be a 4-round, otherwise he wouldn't have got on the show. So yeah, he'll be moving up to 6-rounders in February, and then you're going to start seeing him develop. It's about development and about him improving as a fighter, learning about himself as a man, getting quality sparring, as we have been doing, but getting more quality sparring with men, with strong fighters, with fighters that are going to put him under physical pressure. Just an education, really. I'm not in any rush. I'm not shouting off about him. Oh, he's going to be world champion. He's a talent. He's a very, very good talent. He's got plenty of potential, but he's a baby. He's 19 years old. So I'm going to take my time with him. He's not going to get rushed like a lot of your other Team GB fighters have been. Like, your boxes and your fouls to a certain extent. Get him to move quicker. This kid's going to be boxing on undercards and being brought along. He's 19. When he's 21, then he'll be let off the leash, but by then he'll be ready to be let off the leash.
Moving on to the main event, Anthony Joshua regains the unified heavyweight titles with a unanimous decision win over Andy Ruiz. What did you make of his performance?
I thought it was outstanding. I thought it was absolutely outstanding. He put on a display that, although we were saying beforehand, I think I said to you, control the distance. He needed to use feints. After I saw Ruiz at the workout, I thought the feints are going to be very, very important. And he did. We said he needed to use angles. He did. But I also said he had that many things that he had to do in this fight. Also, smother him, stop him from getting to work, nullify him when Ruiz did get close to him. There were so many things that he had to do in order to win that fight. To actually put them all together, to keep it going, keep the focus, and to have the confidence to try all these new things, all in his biggest moment, coming off such a bad loss to the same guy, it takes a lot of character, and it tells you a lot about a man. And he put them all together, and he was brilliant. It was fantastic. A couple of times he wanted to go, the old Anthony Joshua wants to go, catching me a good shot, and I thought, don't walk into the same traps as what he did last time. But he showed that he learned. He didn't. I think he did it once and he got clipped, and then from then on, he wanted to, and he just go for a little walk. I thought his ring generalship was fantastic, and that is such an underestimated and underrated thing in boxing. I thought it was brilliant.
I spoke to you earlier on in the week, and I said that I felt that it was important for him to, if he's going to box on the back foot, but to also land something early in the fight. He landed that straight right hand at the end of the first round, which ultimately cut Andy Ruiz. How important do you think that was in kind of negotiating the rest of the fight, letting Andy Ruiz know that he's still in there and he can still hurt him?
Yeah, very. I mean, we did say that he couldn't just run around just flicking shots, and he didn't. It's sneaking, good right hands, good shots that had hurt Ruiz. That keeps him honest. What that does, that makes your opponent respect you. It's all right, people saying, Ruiz should have just walked straight through him and should have thrown more hands, but he couldn't, because Joshua's feet controlled that distance. So whether or not you've got a height and reach advantage over somebody, if you can control the distance, that's your game. That gives you an advantage. But whether you're an aggressive fighter coming forward or the fighter that's on the back foot. But when you've got that height and reach, and if you can control that distance, every time the man tries and throws at you, the shorter man, and you control that distance, he's missing. If he's missing, he stops punching. Every time he falls short and then gets touched with a jab, he stops punching, because when he falls short, and even if he just gets touched with a jab, he's aware that a right hand can come sneaking straight through after that jab when he makes a mistake. And because Joshua landed that right hand straight away in round one, it reminded Ruiz that although I've knocked you out, you can still hurt me. So it just makes you think a little bit more. And it's all right, people saying, you've got to do this, you've got to do that. But it's so hard to do it when you're in that ring and when what you're doing is not working and what he's doing is working. It's very hard.
How much credit does Rob McCracken and also the other coaches who've been brought into the camp deserve for this? Because it was really an un-Anthony Joshua-like performance in probably the best possible way you could make that suggestion.
Yeah, listen, the team, they'll know what jobs they've done. They've done a phenomenal job, because the swing is massive. He's gone from being a certain way in the first fight and throughout his career, getting crushed in that first fight, to be completely dominant in the rematch in a short space of time, to do it in one camp. That's brilliant. I know Rob's a great coach. Rob's done a fantastic job throughout his career. loses one fight and you get Muppets saying get rid of him and this and that. But what they've done is they've added on. They've brought in different dimensions. Angel Fernandez, I know Angel Fernandez. I might not know the rest of the team, but I know Angel Fernandez. I know what a good coach he is. He's a very, very good coach. I rate him. He's a good coach. He knows boxing. He understands boxing. It's just that he's not known yet. So people go, is this unknown? Or not? He deserves a lot of credit as well for the work he's done. The whole team, Rob, Angel, the other guy, I can't remember his name. His whole team have done a job. But more importantly as well, I know he's got a massive team, but he's got a small group of people that he's been around since day one. And when he'll have had his dark moments, because I've had fighters that have had bad losses and have dark moments, and it's that small team, it's a small group of friends that are from day one that are very, very important. It's perhaps not on the training side, but on that side and getting you through those dark moments. Because I know AJ is very matter of fact, and he's very, he thinks through a lot of things and he says the right things. But listen, he's a human being. He'll have had dark moments. He'll have had times when he was, he doubt himself or, despondent and depressed after the first fight. But the team that he's got around him, his family, that's what gets you through, And the whole team, the whole people around him, done a brilliant job because they've got him from where he was, where you don't forget how the public have turned on him and things like that. A lot of the fans have turned on him. That has an effect on people. I don't care who you are, it has an effect on people. And if you've got nobody else to talk to or nobody just to say the right things at the right time, even when you're not speaking, that's a big thing. And so everybody to do with AJ have done a great job. You can't knock it. You can't knock what he did last night. What he did last night was something that people didn't think he could do. And he did it. And he's got his belts back and he's a 2-time heavyweight champion of the world.
When talking about that added dimension and showing that for me and for a lot of other people, it was the ability to stick to such a rigid game plan or such a disciplined game plan throughout. Where does that leave him now in kind of your top heavyweights in the world? Obviously, we've got Wilder-Fury 2 coming up in February. Does this put AJ at the top of the tree? Do we still not know? What's your opinion on that?
We don't actually know until they all fight each other. But I'll tell you what, it's a new dimension to him. It's a bolt onto him. And it's a completely different look. So that's only going to get better because they're not going to just, that's one fight only and you're not going to carry on working at it. So now when he goes into a fight, he's got the dimension where he can go in there and bully you and do what he did, combination punching, beat you up, depending on that opponent. Or if he needs to, he can get on his toes and he can box. Or he can do a mixture of both in a fight. That's becoming a better all-round fighter. We all thought it's just what you see with AJ is what you get. Quite stiff, robotic, quite mechanical with his punches, bulky. He's got a different dimension to him. Listen, if that was Tyson Fury last night, putting on that boxing display, everybody was calling it a masterclass. Everybody's saying about brilliant, absolute genius, this. Well, it's the same thing. You can't say it for one man, and the other man goes out and does the same sort of thing and change it for another man. It's the same sort of thing. He's sure he's got another dimension to him. It's brilliant.
Anthony Joshua's got the belts back now, which means inevitably mandatories will start to be called. I believe the IBF is going to be called first with Kubrat Pulev. I think that's general consensus is that's going to be the fight that happens. What do you make of that fight based on what we saw last night from Anthony Joshua?
I like that fight. That's a fight I think for Joshua because he's, like I said, he's had one camp learning these new things. And then he's been disciplined enough to be able to do it in this fight. But for it to become more natural, and where again, the more he does it, the less energy it'll take out of himself, and the more instinctive things will come along. So he's going to have another camp of doing what he normally does, but then doing these new parts of his game, the angles, the feints, the foot movement. He's just going to become better and better at it. So a fight against Pulev with Pulev's style, I think it's a perfect fight for him to build on what he did last night. The perfect style for him. And then after that one, then you can, then we'll see what comes next.
Final word on Dillon White, who made his return to the ring last night. Laboured to a decision win over Marius Vac, but all things considered, got the win after what's been a pretty turbulent period for him.
Listen, anyone that expected it anything but a laboured sort of performance with what he's been going through for the last few months doesn't understand boxing, doesn't understand people's mentality. You know, he's had a lot to go through. He's not been allowed to say anything, and they've still not been allowed to say what everything. But what UCAD did is quite royally fucked up and ruined a man's reputation, right? If you failed, you failed, right? He's not in any way failed a drugs test. He's not failed the drugs test, and it's just how it got leaked, and then because of UCAD's stipulation that you're not allowed to say anything, because nobody's been able to say anything. When you hear that somebody's failed a drug test or an adverse finding in somebody's drug test, straight away you're gonna be like, oh shit. All we said all along is, I hope he's not failed. I hope when it comes out it clears. But you can't come out and say, oh, he's 100% innocent, because you don't know. Because you don't know, people are allowed to say what they want to say. People are allowed to go on social media and tarnish somebody's name. And he's had all that to go through, and he's not been able to say anything. He's not been able to clear his name. You know, that's disgusting. That's disgraceful. UCAD should have come out and said something a lot sooner. Something should have been said a lot sooner. But it's like when others have had these findings, and with UCAD it takes a year for them to come out and say this and saying that. It's just wrong. It's a flawed system, you know, and it needs correcting. And I think you might see a few changes as far as that kind of thing is concerned. You might see that, you know. It's all right. I can't say stuff because then I'll probably get in trouble. But it needs sorting. It's not fair, and Dillon's had to go through that, having his name dragged through the mud, taking out of WBC rankings, losing his shot, losing his slot, having everybody call him this, that, and other. And the demons that he's had to go through, it's very hard. It's all right. People say, "Oh, you should still stay in the gym, Mate, that's not humanly possible. You go in the gym to use it as a distraction. You can't go in the gym and focus on getting better. I'm going to be this. I'm going to. It's very hard because it's human nature, you know. Because until it's the unknown and until things are allowed to be spoken about, when you're going through legal issues, it's very draining. Any sort of legal issues, you know, it's always draining. You know, people get drained when they're buying an house and having to deal with solicitors that way. That's buying an house. You know, imagine your reputation, your career, and everything like that, and you're fighting to clear your name and fighting to get things sorted. So I expected a Labour decision. He got the fight, he got the win. It's better that he fought because now it can kind of like his back. He can put it all behind him and start moving on towards a better 2020. So he had to fight. You know, people, he shouldn't have fought then if he's out of shape. No, I think for his mind's sake he had to fight more than anything else, more than physically. I think he had to fight. It's not that weren't about building his career or how he's looking or anything like that last night. It was about his mindset, getting that put to bed. I'm back now, because you can't say you're back until you fought. Right, I'm back. I'm a fighter again now, and look forward to see what happens in 2020.
Okay, well, Dave Coldwell, always a pleasure. Thanks very much for speaking to Boxing Social, not just today, but throughout the week and throughout the year. If I don't see you before Christmas, do have a lovely Christmas with your lovely family. And I will see you in 2020.
And you, hope you have a great Christmas, good break. Thanks for all your work. Thanks for always interviewing me. Also, thanks for all the support to everybody that's given me and my fighters throughout the year. Been a bit of an up and down year, Started off great, had a dip in spring. I've had Jamie back, Jordan back, Fowler back with 2 good wins, and now Opie Price 2-0. So it's finished off a good year. So thanks for your support. Always appreciated. Have a good Christmas. Have a great New Year.
Roll on 2020. Dave Coldwell, always a pleasure. Thanks very much.
Thanks, mate. Cheers, mate. Thank you.